At the end of Chapter 4, we discover that Ollie was actually the prototype all along. However, after this reveal, the prototype tells Poppy that Ollie was alive at some point in the past. This raises the question, what exactly happened to Ollie? Let's break down the events at the end of Chapter 4. After we defeat Doughie, we find ourselves in a ventilation room, where Poppy becomes angry at us for killing Doughie. She tries to contact Ollie for guidance on what to do next. In a twist that wasn't too surprising, Ollie reveals the exact location in a serious tone, before revealing himself as the prototype. What's interesting here is that he only reveals his true identity once he's certain that Doughie and the safe haven are gone, meaning there would be little to no resistance left. After revealing himself, the prototype taunts Poppy by repeating something Ollie once said to her in one of the VHS tapes. Poppy then asks if Ollie ever truly existed, to which the prototype responds affirmatively but states that Ollie's existence was a long time ago. This raises some key questions. How did the prototype obtain Ollie's phone? And how long ago did Ollie actually die? To answer these questions, we need to analyze the tape referenced by the prototype while mocking Poppy. The first thing we hear on the tape is Ollie trying to get Poppy to open up about her troubles, saying, "Something's bothering you, Poppy. Something you need to talk about." Poppy doesn't listen at first, but eventually breaks down and discusses what the scientists have been doing to her. At the end of the tape, when Ollie consoles her, he says, "I'm here, Poppy. For you, I'll always be here," which is the exact same line the prototype says at the end of Chapter 4, confirming that it is indeed the prototype speaking to Poppy. This suggests that Ollie was most likely either killed by the prototype or was an orphan used for an experiment, with the prototype later cloning Ollie's voice before he died, or possibly turned into a toy. I lean toward the second theory because the tape indicates that the prototype took Ollie's voice before the Hour of Joy, and Poppy still speaks as if she's being experimented on by the scientists. Given that the prototype resides in the labs, it's plausible that Ollie was transformed into a toy, much like the many critters after the prototype interacted with him in the lab, similar to what happened with Theodore in Playcare. This could also explain how the prototype came into possession of Ollie's phone and now uses Ollie's voice to manipulate Poppy. So it might seem like Ollie is just a toy now, having died a long time ago, with the prototype merely impersonating him to get closer to Poppy. However, I don't believe that's the full story, and the truth is far darker. The real question comes from the tape. Why would the prototype care about Poppy's problems? This tape was recorded before the Hour of Joy, meaning the prototype had no reason to manipulate Poppy with these words. By this point, Poppy was already on the prototype's side and participated in the Hour of Joy, as the doctor mentions. Did she tell you her part in the Hour of Joy? Did she know it was coming, or did she leave out that crucial detail? This means that during the time the tape was recorded, the prototype oddly seems to care about Poppy, but he wants to hide that fact. Why would he hide it if he actually cares? To understand this, we need to dive deeper into the prototype's motives and what's really at play here. Let's go back to the end of Chapter 4. The prototype mentions multiple times that he has something special planned for Poppy, referring to a new case he supposedly made for her. He also says that he wants Poppy to return home, which raises some questions. The only homes we know of in the game are Home Sweet Home from Chapter 3, which was meant for orphans, and Elliot Ludwig's apartment, where Poppy was held before in her case. Since we know that Poppy existed before Playcare, it can't be referring to Home Sweet Home, so it must be Elliot Ludwig's apartment. But why would the prototype care about Elliot Ludwig's office? Wouldn't it make more sense for him to lock Poppy away in the labs with him to prevent the events of the game from happening again? This is where things get strange, and we need to examine one of his final lines more closely. "It's always been about you and me, HBY, what we are." That's not a truth that can be burnt away. No, not when it can mean so much more. Why is HBY capitalized here? Why is the prototype so focused on capturing Poppy and not killing her? I believe the answer lies in the secret Poppy VHS tape at the end of Chapter 4. The tape begins with Poppy ranting about how much she hates the prototype, blaming him for killing so many people during the Hour of Joy and beyond, as well as lying to her about everything. However, the tone of the tape shifts dramatically to a much lighter one, as if she knew the prototype on some level. Poppy says, "And I hate that he's right. He explained everything, and he's right." In this moment, she's referring to how the prototype knows that if any human finds out what happened in the Playtime factory, it would only lead to more suffering, not just for humans, but also for the toys. This leads her to reveal a crucial line that sheds more light on the situation. I wish you were here, Dad. I could really use one of your talks right about now. You know what to say. When you were running this place, you always knew what to say. I miss you. This line confirms that Poppy's dad is Elliot Ludwig, the original owner of the factory, which ties into a detail hinted at in the tape found at the start of Chapter 2. It also confirms that Poppy is Elliot's daughter, who he lost a long time ago. Now, you might be wondering why this is significant. Based on everything we know about the prototype, how he wants to be close to Poppy, how he seems to care for her, and how he wants to keep her in his home, I think the prototype might actually be Elliot Ludwig himself. You might be quick to question, why would Poppy be talking about her dad while bad-mouthing the prototype, who we know is her dad? If the prototype is Elliot, there are a few possible reasons for this. Poppy doesn't know that the prototype is Elliot. She knows it's him, but hates what he has become, especially since he turned into something monstrous. The most likely option, she's aware of who he is, but the prototype, after being transformed, isn't the same person anymore. The third option makes the most sense, especially when you consider how monstrous the prototype becomes, particularly in the Hour of Joy, where he kills everyone, no matter how innocent they were. This transformation ties into the connection between the identities of Elliot and the prototype. It would also explain why the prototype would care so much about Poppy, why he keeps her alive, why he still has a relatively decent relationship with the Doctor despite his actions, and why he would impersonate Ollie to get closer to her. But I don't think the whole story about Ollie and the prototype is fully explained just yet. If we go back to the tape with Ollie and Poppy, we see that Poppy speaks to Ollie as if she's known him for a long time. This shift in Poppy's tone when speaking to Ollie suggests that Ollie wasn't initially on the chopping block to become a toy. This leads to the conclusion that the prototype killed Ollie. Well, I have a theory. The prototype didn't just kill Ollie. He made sure no one would ever recognize him. To avoid raising suspicion and drawing attention to his actions, the prototype framed Elliot Ludwig for Ollie's murder. After all, no one even knew Elliot was alive, let alone that he was the prototype now. It makes sense that this child found in Elliot's apartment isn't just a random kid, but actually Ollie. Think about it. If Elliot is the prototype and truly transformed into whatever the prototype is, then it would explain why the prototype would go to such extreme lengths to get closer to Poppy, even at the cost of Ollie's life. By this point, the prototype, no longer able to understand empathy like Elliot once did, wouldn't hesitate to do whatever it took to manipulate Poppy. Proof of this transformation comes from the fact that Elliot, before becoming the prototype, was described as someone who would never harm a child. He just wanted to bring smiles to kids, not hurt them. But after becoming the prototype, his lack of remorse becomes clear. He feels no guilt over killing the toys in Safe Haven just to make Doi betray us.